Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sami Trujillo, and I will be showing you Beas for high tech and electronics. I have you all muted, but at the end, I will leave time if we have any specific questions. So it will be my pleasure. But for now, I'll just flow with it. Okay, so just bear with me. Won't take that long. This whole presentation is just to highlight whatever Beas brings to the table specifically for this industry. Although a lot of things that you will see are applicable for other industries like creating works orders and doing the planning, obviously. But still, I will try and show you specific things that are important for this type of industry. Okay, so no further ado. So we have market forces that are coming through, like Internet of Things and the artificial intelligence that is coming. So we in Boyum are trying to figure out or trying to match the system so that when these things actually come into the workplace, we'll be ready to accept them by using the Industry 4.0 and similar technologies. Some of them we already started, and others will be coming as the days go by or as the years go by. These are some things, excerpts that experts are saying of where this industry is going. Okay, the connection. It talks about connection. It talks about the the less manual work, more automation, and yeah. So here are some details about that. So some of the challenges that we have in the electronics industry is, for example, the BOMs are very, very big. The bill of materials are very, very big. Trying to manage them manually, it is a bit complicated. For that, we have PLM systems or product management systems. And our solution, rather than to have a PLM system inside, is to connect seamlessly as possible to those PLM systems. And I will show you a couple of examples of that. Nowadays, in this industry, well, in most industries, you have products like SolidWorks or Hybrid or Windchill, and they are very, very positioned to take care of the life cycle of the items. All we do is once this is done, we can bring the results in rather than typing it twice. And I'll show you an example of that. Another thing is the capacity planning or the resource planning, basically. A lot of the electronic industry, there's a lot of manual labor involved there, and I will show you also an example. You might have 20 stations in which they have to do some soldering or have to do some assembly, and therefore we need a tool that would allow us to plan ahead regarding the capacity, regarding the efficiency, regarding the burden that these stations have. So we use APS, which you already know probably, but I will show you an example of how this is done. The products here are not stationary. Things change, especially in the electronic industry, in which a little change for the same item might trigger a big change in the version of that item. Okay, and version control here is paramount and important. And I will show you how Beas deals with version control. What are the advantages and what are the limits of what it's done there. A few other things. As we said before, as I mentioned before, the warehouse, the BOMs are quite large. So MRP is really, really, really important here. Okay, it allows us to keep track on our inventory so we don't over purchase or we don't overproduce, and just gives us green or red lights, so where we should go and where we should stop. And I will also show you that. Sorry. We comply with industry quality standards. Quality control is paramount. So during the production and after also the production, it is very important to keep tabs on the quality results. We'll also go through that. And the last thing that we will talk about is subcontracting. In this industry, there's a lot of subcontracting. Not every company does everything. So at times it's more economic to actually send some of the jobs to be done outside, because just setting up that department within the company can be expensive and at times, not necessary. And for that, Beas has a very good solution in subcontracting, both managing the materials that are moving around, the costs, and all the transactions that are related. And we will also see that. Basically, what we have here, this is what SAP brings to the table, the gray parts. We as Beas bring this additional capability, like capacity planning, manufacturing management, MRP2, not MRP1, subcontracting, quality control, traceability, which is paramount here, and I'll show you some things. And on top of that, the data collection, advanced planning, and using mobile devices just to report the transactions. We have many customers. Here's an example of some of the customers we have in that area. And without further ado, let's dive into the system and let me show you what we have. Okay, so I'm back in Sub-Business 1, and let's go to a few things. I have created, just to give you an idea, BOMs here can be quite complex. I really brought it down to some basic level so we can actually play with it and keep track of what we're doing. But the idea of how it is set up remains the same. So what we have here, I have two final items, which is my shiny new mobile phone, 64 gigabytes, and my shiny new phone, 16 gigabytes. Okay. The bills of materials, as you know, are multi-level, as you can see here, which is made out of a board. These are the materials that each one of these items is made out of. Okay. So I have my phone main board for 64-bit gigs. So I need 8 capacitors, 1 microchip, 1 memory card. I just really broke it down, okay, into the bare minimum. And again, I need a capacitor. Why twice? Because it's used in 2 different operations, first in the preparation and then in the external operation, the subcontracting. And once I have it, then I need this main board with the phone casing, the phone screen, and then the box in which it goes to the store. I have to do some sort of assembly here and then packing. This is basically it. Quite simple. Obviously, life is a little more complicated, but I hope you get the gist. Okay. Now, this is a very standard BOM. However, in this type of industry, we might have something a bit different. Okay. Look at this 16 gig phone here. I actually have 2 different versions. One which is released and the other one that is currently being set up. Okay. The release version, as you can see, looks exactly like this one with all the same sub-assemblies and everything. And if I open the one that I'm currently making up, you can see that the difference here is the phone screen. I am using a different screen, an advanced version of that. And for that reason, even though the item remains the same in the end, because of a change in a BOM that is large enough to merit a change in revision or version, sometimes, the words get mixed, then I am able to create that from the get-go. What is important, and we go a little bit into detail here, is that every item has only one valid version at a given time, and that version is kept up here. Okay, so you will set up an item. It is important to indicate that you have a version, and that version is this one. So you can have 25 versions here. You can have 5 versions that are released, but only one will be. Now, this is the time to indicate that this is the version that will be used for MRP. Okay, so I might have multiple versions, and even some of the versions, like this one here, I have a bright new version here, which will be available from the 20th of February, as indicated here, the validity date. Still, MRP will only look, even after the 20th of February, on the main version of the item. Okay. Once this version is approved and ready to be used, all I have to do is make it from construction to released, and then within the item, all I have to do is indicate that this is the version that will now be used from here onwards. Okay, this is one thing. Another thing here is that it is very important here also to attach drawings and pictures, and here's like that. So at item level, I am able to actually put the drawings and and all that is needed, because this information can be accessed when I am reporting production later on. Okay, so even though my BOM was pretty simple, you can see it can be actually quite complex, and the board I was looking at can actually have all this information available. And it just makes life easier. Instead of having a lot of paper going around, this information can be retrieved at the time of reporting. One of the other things that is important here is that a lot of these items are managed by serial number, and I will show you how Beas deals with it. It is a bit different from, I mean, obviously the serial number is within SAP. At the end, becomes part of the inventory, but Beas deals with it in a slight different way, in which I will show you soon. Okay, so now we have the item, we have the versions, and things like, and for make items, different versions might hold different BOMs, might hold different routings, but not only that. When we do we can also hold versions for purchase parts. Even though it does not affect the BOM or anything, because it does not have a BOM, it does something that is quite useful here. If the item is either managed by serial number or by batch, when I go and look at the inventory, every time I do a receipt, I think I picked up the wrong one. Every time I do a receipt, there we go. You can see that by serial number, for example, this item is managed by serial number. I have 18 in stock. These are the serial numbers that I have. And for each serial number, I can see which version of the item I have. So even though the stock, in SAP Business One, the stock is kept by item number and serial number at the lowest level. However, if you actually do that, and I do have an example for this one, if you do that, you can basically keep stock not just by item number or serial number, but also by version. So you can see here that I have 2 serials having this version and the other ones with the other version. Using B1UP, after that, we can actually automate the process of selecting the oldest version or taking it out or making it obsolete during the reporting. So just so you know, and this is automatically updated every time you do a PO or a goods receipt PO. The version that is on the item master here is automatically copied onto the lot number or on the batch number or the serial number. Okay. All right. So I have all this information here regarding the items and the bombs and the routings. But this information, imagine if I have a bomb that has 200 pieces, 300 pieces, or 300 items, sorry, 300 part numbers. It can be quite complex to set up. And we were talking about PLM systems before, product management systems. We can actually connect to those systems by means of the data integration hub. Okay, and I have a couple of examples here. So what I have here, for example, is I can import, I don't know if you've seen the data integration hub. The data integration hub allows us to import many, I have to create a new one just to show you. These are all the entities in SAP/Beas that can be imported from outside systems. It's items, it's bombs, it's versions, it can be documents, it can be attachments, it can be quality control plans, it can be anything that you can basically imagine, or most of the things that you can imagine, not everything. In this case, I created beforehand the ability to upload items from an XML file. That this is an actual export from SolidWorks. Okay, so SolidWorks has the ability to export information in XML, in CSV, in TXT format, and those formats can be brought into the system. You create a source and target link. So you say this data bit goes here, this data bit goes here, and so on. And this way you create the connection. And in the end, you can actually, I only did the item code and the description, but you can actually, every single part of the item that is important can be uploaded here into the system. And here at the back, you can see all the gibberish that comes with the XML files. We actually break it down and make sense of it because it's a structured file, okay? And it can be done also automatically, okay? Once we create this connection between the file and the mapping, then we can decide to put a file in a directory, and then the system will check it every 5 minutes, 10 minutes, as much as you say, as you tell him to, and we'll start uploading the data. The same applies for the BOM. Oh, don't need to run this. We can bring the bill of materials here. Again, we have an XML file here from SolidWorks. Okay, we create the connection between the data that we have in Sub Business One in Beas, and then indicate where we are picking the information from. And ultimately, we create the BOM that will be uploaded into the system. So this is the parent, the item, the quantity, okay, and so on. And this way we can bring the item, we can bring, first of all, obviously we have to bring things up in an orderly fashion. I cannot create a BOM if I don't have an item, but you bring the item, then you bring the version, then you bring the BOM, and so on, and you can build everything just by, you make the effort once, and then you have everything ready just to upload the information. And the information, by the way, can be either uploaded or inserted or updated. Okay. So now that I know how to bring in information, whether I do it manually or not, let's go a little bit into MRP. So as we said, the BOMs can be quite large and complex. Okay. And for our example, I created a forecast here. I think I called it the phone forecast. Yeah. This is a standard forecast in sub-business one. Monthly forecast, it can be daily, it can be weekly. Okay, that's up to you. I did it monthly just because. And having done that, I went and run MRP in Beas. Okay, just a quick reminder, this is the MRP screen in Beas, the MRP results, what we call the recommendations. Okay, it's completely different from the SAP Business One screen. I'll just make it a bit bigger to give you an idea. Okay, so the way that the screen looks, I will just take a couple of minutes and I'll show you where it can be useful also. So the way the screen looks is the top screen gives me the shopping list. This is what I need to buy or make. Okay, the blue icons here are buy items. Sorry, the yellow ones are make items. This is the balance here is how much I have to buy according to the horizon, as far as I told the system to look at the demand. Okay, my previous forecast was until December 2019. I told the system, yes, look up and all the way to December and let me know how much you need. Okay, so what the system does here, it tells me, okay, for each one of these items you need 2,960, you need 1,470, and so on. Okay, this is math. This is just basic math. It tells me how much I have in stock, how much I have coming in by means of purchase orders or works orders, okay, and how much is going out. Every time I step on an item here, well, you cannot exactly see that, but the bottom screen changes. You cannot see that because it's all the same. The bottom screen changes, indicating where these numbers are actually coming from. Okay, let me open it again. Like froze. Filter. I'm just bringing only the items that I care about. Now you see there's a screen changing. So the screen changes and the bottom indicating where these numbers are coming from. Okay. So it tells me, yes, you need this memory 64 gigs because you have this forecast coming in on these dates. You're a little bit late for this once. Even if you order it today, you'll be late. Why? Because we have a 5-day lead time. We're at the end of the month. We don't include weekends because lead times are only working days. Therefore, you'll probably be late to cover the demand for January. Okay. I don't have enough. What is the demand for January? This is how much I need to order. But out of this full quantity, this is how much I need to order in January. This will cover my needs until June. And why 600? Because I have a minimum order amount, minimum order quantity, so I have to abide by that. So even though I might need only in January, I don't know how much is here, 210, then it's telling me, no, you have to order 600 because this is what you need. And once you order that, it will cover your need until July. And that goes for every single item here. Now, one of the things here in the electronics industry that is also important, sometimes we deal with tremendous quantities of like capacitors and things like that. We're talking about thousands of those guys. And if I have to see a screen that shows me one by one here where the need is coming from, I mean, I might as well, I don't know, go home. It is impossible to capture. So we have the ability here within the MRP to say, okay, if I'm looking at capacitors, I don't care exactly what is causing my demand. I would like to see that my total demand, let's say by week, by month, I did it by month, okay? Or just a lump sum, okay? So if I look that the system is telling you need 53,000 of these guys, okay, in January you need 3,600, which is what I see here. In February you need 360, 540, and so on. So this way I can also see what is causing that demand, but rather than look at it in a very detailed manner, I see this more in a more structured and complete way. Okay, and from here, obviously, we can create works orders and we can create purchase orders. Okay, directly, but that is just standard functionality here in the MRP. And now we go to the works orders where the actual fun happens. Okay, so I created a few work orders here. I'll just make the screen bigger. Okay, and you probably know that, but the way to normally work with the system is you run MRP, you release works orders. I already created them. Okay, after creating the work orders, you should run APS to tell you if the dates in which the work orders are set up, if they are doable, if there's something that can be, that can be achieved. So I went ahead and run APS. This is the APS screen. I run a forward schedule here. Normally in the electronic business, okay, we are always catching our tails, all the time catching our tails. So a forward would make sense more than a backwards. The work backwards makes more sense maybe in a plastic injection company with more make to order stuff. Here is normally make to stock, normally, not always. Okay. So I just went for a forward schedule, meaning that if I have a resource available, use it. And the result of this was that the system scheduled for me, let me make this bigger, schedule the assembly, the subcontracting, and the packaging line, okay? And I see everything when it's going to take place. So now that I did this, I now have doable dates set up in my works orders. So now I know each one of these steps, when they are supposed to take place, with dates that can actually be doable, based on capacity, based on availability, based on material availability too. Okay. One of the things that is very specific for Beas here in SAP Business One, a lot number, a batch number, or a serial number only appear when you report inventory. So at the end of the process, okay? In Beas, only for serial numbers and for reasons that are really important here, we have the ability to create the serial numbers from the get-go. Okay, for example, I created a work order for 10 units of this 4 mainboard 64 gigabytes. Okay, so the system created for me 10 serial numbers that at the end they will go into inventory. But now I have the number. And the important and the reason for that is that actually based on here, I can actually create labels to start labeling the production even before it starts. Okay, maybe a lot of times the production starts with a box in which you put all sorts of components inside. So if you put a label with this serial number, which is the serial number of the end product, okay, this will be the number that will be used for the product at the end of the production. Then you keep full tracing from the very beginning. Okay. This is one of the uses. Now, to turn this on, this is not automatically turned on. The fact that you have a serial managed item in the system doesn't mean that this will happen. For this to happen, you have to go into the configuration wizard and under production, let's make the screen bigger, a little bit bigger. Good. Under production, valuation booking of assembly. And then you have here serial number. You have to turn this on. Serial number reservations, yes. By default, it says no when you set up the system for the first time. So know that you can do that. Okay, so now I know that when I make this production, these will be the serial numbers that will be created for this specific production. Now, how do I use this? Okay, this is really useful for multiple reasons. Okay, if I look at this, for me to make this phone main board here, okay, I need capacitor, then I need a microchip. This is managed by serial number. Then I need this memory. The memory is also managed by serial number. And again, I need the capacitor because they are used in two different operations. Okay. So just to give you an idea, if I look and say, okay, I would like to issue material. Okay. So imagine I have a box, I put in a label with a serial number, and now it goes through the first step doing some sort of of uh, lost the word, assembly. Sorry. Okay. Okay. So it tells me, listen, you need a capacitor. This is the only capacitor we have. This is the batch number. How many capacitors do you need? Okay. I picked up 4 capacitors. Fine. And then I have the microchip. Okay. Now you see here, right now, I see all the serial numbers that I created from the get-go. Okay. So let's say I am working currently on this serial number. This is the serial number that's on the box. Okay. So I say for this serial number, I am using this this microchip. Okay. Or sometimes the list here can be quite how do I say it, long. Okay. I might have 5,000 serial numbers here. Okay. I don't expect anyone to just go scrolling down and look for a serial number here. So if those serial numbers in the component are either embedded or they have a little label next to it, if I stand here and scan that serial number, okay, I just use the scanner to scan the part, the system will select the serial number from the list just by scanning it. So you don't have to look for it. You don't have to scroll down or anything. Okay. You could, you wouldn't necessarily have to. Okay. And now this one I'll leave alone. Okay. And now I issue. Look what happened here. Okay. Oops. Sorry. I'll show you what happened here. Out of my serial numbers, okay, I haven't done anything yet. I haven't finished the production yet. Okay. But it's telling me when you finish the production, out of the quantities that you reported here, they will go into the serial number. So it does create an allocation, a future allocation to a serial number that does not yet exist. Okay? And it's very important because if I am creating a works order for 10 units, if I would issue 10 serial numbers and receive 10 serial numbers at the end, I wouldn't know which one went where. Okay, I wouldn't have to create works order one by one just to make sure that I keep track of what is going there. This way, we can actually keep track of the way it does it. And I don't have to do it one by one. I can actually say, I'm okay, I'll just use 2 here. And I used this one, and I used this one. And then I go to the other one. Okay. For this, I used this. And here I use this serial. I have one too many. For this one, I use this one, and so on. So when I issue, now you will see that they are, each one is going to where, oh, I used the same one by mistake at the beginning. Each one is going to where it should be all the time. Okay? So you can keep track of what you are doing here. At the end of the day, when I do a receipt from production, and it doesn't matter if I do it using the terminal or if I use the um, either the terminal or the screen or any way, I always get the same thing. I am receiving these 3 serial numbers which I created from the get-go. Finish the production and look at a few things that happen here. Okay. First of all, I received 3 serial numbers here. Okay. Every time I click on a serial number, you will see that this is what we call in the electronics is called as built. I made this serial number. I use this capacitor. I use this microchip with this specific serial numbers. These other serial numbers were also used in the same works orders, but not for this specific one I made. These black ones, the gray ones, is just to show you that more were used. By my as built, my connection is only this one. So you keep track of each serial number where it exactly went. And this is very important, and this is very it is very mandatory in this type of industry not to lose track or traceability by one, the as-built traceability here. Okay. Another thing, you see that 3 QC orders were created here. Okay. So I have 3 quality control. The reason for that is that I created an inspection plan indicating that I wanted to check each serial number separately. Okay, so I need to test each serial number, not as a batch, not take 1 out of 10, not take the whole box and just weigh it. Okay, but rather I'm telling the system I need to check it one by one. Okay, and what it did here, it created 3 samples. Each sample, each sample has the serial number that you needs to be tested, and that's a unique serial number, obviously the one I created from the get-go and the one I received at the end. Okay, so also this keeps us in track. So by serial number I have full traceability, and I will have full results depending on the quality control, and this is just the standard quality control in Beas that will allow you to report. Okay. The last thing I want to show you here, in this industry, not only in this one, but in this industry, there's a lot of outside operation, external operations, subcontracting. Okay. The subcontracting in Beas is managed, external production, by means of purchase orders, connections between purchase orders and work orders. So what you get here is a list of all the works orders that you currently have in the system that are requiring some sort of external production to be reported. Okay. Now, every time I step on a line here, you see that the bottom screen changes. Well, you might not see it because it's a bit small, but it changes. It tells me who the supplier is, and I can change it. I can actually change the supplier if required. In this case, it's the best outsourcer in town. What is the quantity? How many I am sending? As per the work order, I should send 10 units here. Okay. And I can send 10, I can send less. There is a price attached to it. Could be a price list from the supplier. This is when I want the delivery date to come. And this is the warehouse of my supplier, which is the external warehouse, because I will be sending him material for him to do something before it comes back. So I create an order. And it went. Now it's telling me I have to send the capacitors. Okay, I have to send 100 capacitors to my supplier for him to do something for that. So I'm saying, okay, I am sending 100 capacitors, and gone they are. I'll show you what happened in the work order. So first of all, the system created a purchase order, okay, for the best outsourcer in town. It is a standard sub business one purchase order. The item here is a non-inventory item. We use it just to capture the cost, okay, which in this case is €2 per unit, $2, €2, to whatever it is. And it is connected to a work order by means of some fields here. It's telling me this is for work order 804 and stuff like that. So using this, we can actually create an email. We can email the customer, listen, we just sent your order number 562. Please quote this number upon return or whatever. Okay. So this happened, and we have this purchase order. On the other hand, the capacitor, you will see here that I made a provision. Okay. What is a provision? A provision is a transfer, is a stock transfer. So I transfer from my warehouse 01 to an external warehouse 100 capacitors for him to do something to them. Okay. Whatever, paint them, use them, I don't know what. Okay. So this has just happened. So now the inventory is still mine, but it's no longer in my warehouse. It's outside. Okay. And obviously from here we can create a transfer document to give to the lorry driver to take it or whatever. Okay. So a couple of days go by, and here it comes back. When it comes back, you don't receive it as a regular receipt from purchasing, but rather you have goods receipt from external production here. You have the best outsourcer in town here. I have currently 2 orders at his place. This is the one we are receiving. I sent to make 10, I sent 100 capacitors for him to put inside 10 of my guys. Okay. I received 8 right now. I could have received everything. Create a goods receipt. It's telling me, okay, if you received that, then you probably have used 80 capacitors. These are going to be consumed directly. They're not coming back as capacitors. They no longer are capacitors. Okay. And then I book this. And that's it. Now, what's happened here, if I go back to the work order, a couple of things. So the purchase order became a goods receipt. Obviously, I also created a QC plan here. So this inventory, quote unquote inventory or stock, is not ready to be used until I report on the QC. So we can add also QC plans here just to check that whatever the subcontractor did made sense. And that's great. And another important thing here, okay, so I have it in. I finished this. And also, whatever cost was incurred here, I can actually see it as part of the cost of the product. So I can see that the cost of the subcontracting was €20 in my case. Okay, so this is how much this is costing me up until now. Well, I didn't have any cost set up here mostly. And the subcontracting is part of the cost. Okay, and this is very important at the end when we're trying to understand the cost of the product, that it's made out of material, labor, overhead, and subcontracting. And this is what I had for you guys. So I'm stopping the recording. If you have any questions, my pleasure.